Hi, everybody. This is Sherry Steele, and I still have a little bit of a problem with, there goes Stephen. Anyway, welcome to the winter series for put on by Central Oregon Fly Tyers Guild. And we're a little club in Sisters, Oregon. And we really do like putting on these Zoom classes for free for anybody that wants to attend. And hopefully we can share some ideas. So as I demonstrate tonight, I welcome all kinds of comments, interruptions, whatever you feel you need to ask the question right now, because I don't really have a moderator, it's just me. And so if you have to say, Sherry, I need this question answered, please go ahead and interrupt me, unmute yourself, and go ahead and do an interruption.
I thought she was in a wheelchair.
I might be someday.
Oh, I'm so,
She can hear you.
I'm sorry.
Don.
I didn't mean to have that.
That's okay. Yeah, so you were talking to somebody else. Anyway, it doesn't matter. You guys, thank you for being here. There's 26 of you tonight, and I really appreciate your coming to our deal. And our goal is to give back to the community while we're kind of stuck staying at home quite a bit during the COVID thing, and things will loosen up in 2023. 2022 is still a little bit of a danger zone, so we'll just keep going. So what we're going to do tonight is I have quite a few things here to give you to think about. And I've been testing quite a bit of different styles of Biot bodies. So I'd like to share another screen with you right now and explain what's going on here. These are basically Biot bodies. So the Biot bodies, these are all Spirit River or Nature Spirit. You can see that there's a lot of different colors here. And the last time I did Biot bodies, one of our club members said, why don't you soak them, because they do a lot better if they're soaked. So over here, I've got this tray, and I've had these Biot bodies in these feathers in here this afternoon. And I found out that the soaking does make the Biot a lot more supple. But I'll show you two different things that happen when you do soak them versus when you don't soak them. So I'm going to change my my screen here to fly. So could you guys see this okay? So far, yes.
Good.
So
Looks good, Sherry.
does that look good? Okay, thank you. So what I've got here is just a size 14 TMC 100. And I've got this Biot body already on here, and see the little spines that I'm going to put up a different screen here real quick so you can see it a little bit better. I have a, I don't know if you can tell because this is a green body, but this one has these little spines sticking up. So there's two different ways to put a Biot on the hook, so you can have the little serrated looking edges, or they can be smooth and buggy looking. So I'm going to show you both ways tonight. I'll get another hook in for you. And I'm going to tie this on a darker body so you can see it a little bit better. And this one is going to be kind of a rust color, so like a rusty spinner. So if you have, if you tie the rusty spinner, then a Biot body is really a good option. I want to show you what happens with the differences of the material. If you look at this feather, this is cut off in the short and the top, but these turkey feathers are real right here at the bottom where you come first at the very bottom of the feather. You see these things are really, really short. But as you move up, further and further, you'll find that these fibers, let me see if I can get that, these fibers are longer. So that's where you can run into trouble if you don't have the right length based on the size of the hook that you're going to do. Here's one that's a really long biot. It came from further up the feather. So I'm going to show you a, this might be easy to see. I cut this off earlier tonight. And if you look at this bottom end, the little short feathers. But if you go way up here and you start right here, this is kind of where I start using them because I don't want to run out of, I have more hook space than I have biot. So having a little bit more to work with is important. So I've got one already cut off. Now, one way to get these cut so you can get that, I'll show you and completely uncut feather. I'm pretty sure I do. This one, I haven't cut this, but if you can see this part right here is really stiff and hard. So if you turn it around, look at the back side of this. This can be kind of hard to cut. So if you have some handy dandy, these right here are my friend. Because if you want to cut something that's really stiff and hard and you don't want to muck up too many feathers, that's what I do. I turn it so I can get this guy at the base. I've already used up a lot of this, so I'm going to show you how the cut is made. If you put it right in there, you can hear that snap. And that's how you get to all these different edges. So getting to the right spot on the turkey feather is important. As you can see, I've used up quite a bit of this one, and there's a lot of it still empty, but I've did a lot of rusty spinners. So these fibers now are still long enough, but pretty rough because they run out of space. So what I'm going to do is the most ideal length. If you're going to pull these off, you see how these fibers, if you go from the part where you just cut it off up this way, it's easier to pull them off instead of sticking a pair of scissors in between here and then cutting it. So anyway, I'm going to show you, this is the biot itself. I get some brown thread here. We're going to pretend this is the rusty spinner. I'm going to change my glasses. And what's interesting about this, you don't have to worry about it being too big of a bug or too fat of a body, because the biot is the size of the body. And that means you can't really overdress this fly unless you put a whole bunch of biots on there. And really, you're going to only use one. So here's your biot. And this little guy is shaped. So it's got a little bit, if you look at the very front of it, there's a little bit of a curve to it. And there's one side that has that spine on it right there along the edge. Let me turn it this way so maybe you can see it better. Let me get something to point with. Right along this edge here is that little spine that sticks up. Then you've got the flattest part that goes from there to there. And so what you're trying to create is what we call striations. So if you look at a real bug, the real bug has this little body that's kind of, when they wiggle around, that's how they get through the water. So you're basically imitating that. So if you want this little guy to stick up there and you don't want to break anything, I'm using a turkey Biot that has not been put in water. This one's dry. Now, out of the two ways to do that, I prefer the dry one because all the feathers don't stick together. So I'm going to take this guy and put the flattest edge towards the hook. Put one wrap. And just make sure that the other end doesn't stick out beyond the hook eye. Otherwise, you just got to cut it off anyway. So I'm going to turn it, pinch it with my fingers. You see how the spine part is way over here, and you got the flattest part. So you just pay attention where that is. Now I use my handy dandy Radio Shack tool, and I clip it close to the bottom, and then I slide it up. Now I've got hold of it. It's not going anywhere. Then you use your bodkin. Just run it down the edge there like that. Pull down. And then you start wrapping. Now, because that little edge I was telling you about, the fat edge is facing forward, you get that little spine sticking up. Now, what's neat about that is when and you'll see that when bugs are kind of gooey and slimy looking. Well, to portray that, I goop it up a little bit. Now, I know my friend John Kraft goops up before he wraps. And that's a good way to do it too. So what I've done is, you can see it's all these little, they came out even tonight. That's nice, seeing that I'm doing a demo. So I'm going to go ahead and cut off this extra piece right here. Then you get your goopy stuff, whatever you're going to use. I'm using Sally Hansen's tonight. And what happens is this goo ends up making this little, it's like the gooey part of the bug itself anyway. I don't know if you can see how, as you tie these, you can see how it kind of fills up in between those grooves. Now, I don't know if it makes a whole lot of difference, because whenever I tie these, they still catch fish anyway. So I'm pretty happy with the way they come out anyhow. So there's this one. I'm going to go ahead and tie this off. And then I'll show you the opposite way. Because this will end up being a fishing bug. And I start doing, because you would just put on your wings, whatever way you want to do to make your spinner. I'll take that off. Any questions so far? Nope, that's good. I think, I don't know. Sometimes it's like, well, if everybody's so quiet.
Mary, one question. Clint Burma here.
Hi, Clint.
Hi there. I know enough about biots that if you wrapped it the other way, it would be smooth rather than having the ribs show.
Right, that's what I'm going to do next.
My question is why do you want it to be ribs up or smooth? Why do you make that decision to tie it the way you just tied it?
Because my husband said it makes a difference. But I know if you look at some of the midge patterns that use biots, they want to look so the biot ends up being darker at one end, so it looks a lot more wormy when it's flat than it
Okay.
is when it's spiny like that.
So it gives you a different appearance when you do that.
It does. It gives a little bit, and we're getting quite technical in our classes now. It's kind of unfortunate that that's happening, but we're getting pretty good at imitating these bugs. And boy, I'll tell you, I'm just thrilled because I've learned so much, because everybody's gotten what we call granular, and everybody started sharing their flies. When I first started doing this back in 2000, I couldn't get other fly tiers or fishermen to show me their fly box. You get close to somebody with their fly box open, they're going to close it and walk away. And that whole persona was there for a while. Oh, you can't see my fly box. That would be telling you too much. Well, they're afraid you're going to catch the fish that they didn't catch. I don't know. But anyway, it used to be that way years ago. But the whole industry has turned completely and done a 180. As soon as we started getting so many people into fly fishing that really wanted that information, we started sharing it. And the sharing thing just made us all better tiers.
Exactly.
And so that's what's so exciting, because the more I can share, the better that I think everybody, because we're doing these Zoom classes, and the reason why we wanted them free, we really wanted these classes to take off and share whatever information. Now, my fellow tiers are all that way. Everybody.
Hey, Sherry, this is John Kraft. I wanted to offer my input to Clint's question.
Oh, good.
On the direction of biots. As Sherry said, it's all personal preference. And what I like to do, if I want a ribbed look, I'm trying to imitate an emerger, and I feel that the rib provides a little bit of a look for the gills of the nymph. And if I'm tying a rusty spinner, if I look at the real bug, they have smooth bodies. And so I turn the biot over for a dry fly in order to create that segmented look, but have a smooth body.
That's really good. Anybody have questions about that? And John's website is a wealth of information. And so he's the epitome of sharing. So what I'm going to do right now is I've put this on here the opposite way. So I have got the flat part towards the back of the hook. So what happens is when you wrap, the flat part covers up the little spine. You can see it sticking up there. As soon as you wrap over it, it goes away. And so that if you're tying a bug that you really want that hidden, I see this even looks, to me, looks buggier. And of course, it creates a skinnier looking body because you faced the flattest part towards the back. And that's basically the only difference. You can actually, if these biots are pretty sturdy, you can tie it on the hook any way you want. and just turn it after you get it on there to see which way you want it to go. So I thought for a long time that I had to actually put this feather on there in a certain way to get the spiny look versus the flat look. Turns out it doesn't matter. It doesn't. You can try to put it on all kinds of different ways, but it really doesn't matter which way you mount it, because these guys will just twist right around for you. I'm going to go ahead and cut this off. So there's our little flat body. Now I'm going to go ahead and put some head cement on it. And you'll see that it is a different look. It is a different look. So if you tie a lot of midges and stuff, this is the look that you're going to get, because those midges are, of course, a different hook altogether. But this hook right here this will make a rusty spinner also. And so that's my deal for tonight. And John, do you have any other input on Biot bodies? And
Well, two items. One, in order to moisten them, which is a practice I don't do, and I don't remember who did this, but I saw they just put them in their mouth and moisten them.
yeah,
I don't advise that, though.
Well,
The other thing is that
could be
that
dangerous.
Sherry said that I use, I coat the or the threaded hook with brushable super glue and then wrap the Biot over it just to make it stronger rather than putting it over the top of it. And that, I think if you're going to tie a bunch of these, the problem with the Biots is if a tooth from a fish hits it, it's likely to unwind. So just having a little bit of glue on the bottom or the top will make them catch more fish.
All right. So that's pretty much all I have for tonight for the Biot body part. And I found out I put this tub over here of water and stuff, and I had those things for sticking to everything. And I kind of agree with John now that wetting them, maybe when you first start, you could dip them in some water to make them a little more supple, but I haven't found that I had a problem wrapping around with them, but I wanted to try it just in case, you know, just in case, because it might be something to that. And maybe Jim Ferguson is the one that suggested that. And so maybe when he teaches his class, we'll get him to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, the thing I found, Sherry, is that if you have Biots from years past, they're a lot more fragile. And if you go down to the fly shop now and buy some, you probably don't need to moisten them.
Oh, okay. So maybe mine are fairly new because I haven't had any trouble with it. This just happens to be a dog. Whoops. I have a screen. Whoops. Let me turn off my phone. I think that's where I'm getting some feedback. Okay. So I want to show you a little chart that I made, and see if I can pull the chart that I had up here a while ago. And I basically took the idea that John helped me with my soft hackle chart. So what I did is, and I took the hook, and if I wanted these different bugs, I just put down what I thought the color of the thread in the body should be. So if you're doing a March brown, you put on this brown Biot. And then if you got the green drake, you use some sort of olive color. And then if you got, you know, betas or blue wing olives, you can do light gray, or you can do a PMD yellow. And so you're just changing, you're taking the exact same pattern, and you're changing the color or the size to get where you want. And I'm a real, I'm an advocate to do that because it makes life easier for you. If you don't have all these different things you have to learn, you got one fly, and then you can set up your deal to tie a whole bunch of them for the summer. And so on the next one I'm going to show you is one of my favorites. This is a size 16. This is that pheasant tail nymph. And there's all kinds of pheasant tail nymphs. There's several different versions, but this particular one came from an idea from, again, Al Beatty, who's my buddy. He said, Sherry, the Hackle handle works really good on a pheasant tail nymph. I go, really? So this happened about a week ago is all. And I thought, well, you know what? I think I'm going to add it to my class. I'll show everybody how to do this. But this is a guide fly or a fly tire that really wants to do more fishing. And it is absolutely a wonderful fly. And I go, this is, I'm going to use a different color thread here. So I've got some brown thread. This little guy, when Al said, Sherry, you need to try this with your Hackle handle. And I said, what has that got to do with anything? I didn't know that this new technique that I discovered, how effective it is for so many different flies. So we've started a list now that says, how can we use the Hackle handle? So I've got an Excel spreadsheet thing that I've got going saying you can use it with this fly, and this fly. So now that I've come up with that, I'm going to show you how it comes together for this pheasant tail nymph. This is basically a pheasant tail, and I'm going to use my handy dandy cutters again. And I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to try to get here where you can see I've got a lot of these pre-cut. I'm sticking these cutters just right in between there to get just a few fibers off. So this is where the Hackle handle comes in. You see there's these fibers there, and they're not pulled off of anything. They've got their they're basically still tied together, so they're not falling all over your I'm going to pull these over here. I've got some that I've already separated. They're better than this one. But if you look at this thing, you're going to make the whole bug is just two things. It's these fibers and some dubbing and some goop at the top of it. That's it. So I'm going to take this guy and I'm going to look at these fibers right here. So I probably don't need this other side at all. So I'm going to cut it off. I don't think we really, only because it gets out of my way. If you're tying this fly at home, you save the other side. So if you just take it right here, now this is this other nymph thing. So now you've got the handle that you haven't cut that off. So if you're not dropping stuff all over the table, and you say, well, I'm going to make this little tiny tail. I really don't need very much. But see, I'm going to use the rest of this body. I'm going to put it right down there. Put a loop. Now you can pull these shorter at this point right now, but this is a little more fragile. Well, that's pretty good, just like it is. But if you need to, you can take your handle and you can pull a little bit. make that tail a little shorter. So just wrap it around, kind of snug. Then you lift this up, still got the handle. You don't have all the feathers, fibers all over the place, and move your thread forward. Now you still got your handle, and the fibers aren't separating on you. They're not going all over the place. So you don't have to hang on to them like you usually do if you're wrapping pheasant tail. So as you come around and you move towards the hook eye, still got your handle going. Oh shoot, that didn't work. You just unwrap it and wrap it back and just keep going. As it starts to separate a little bit, you can back it up. So now you're going to leave a little room for your thorax. So you just move your thread back a little ways. Oh, look at that. I dropped it. The feather isn't gone, right? This is the beauty of the hackle handle. Now, I really did do that on purpose because I wanted you to see the method that really does work. You don't have these feathers all over. And look at that. The body's right back to where you started. Now, how cool is that? You're not losing time doing this stuff. I'm going to drop this down behind all that. Now you got this cutesy little body. Your feather is still in one piece. I'm going to go a little bit forward of that and grab up some dubbing. You don't need a whole lot because this is a little tiny bug. I probably have too much already. And you just lay it right down in front. This is your thorax. Of course, even now, if you had to start over, your hackle is still there for you to use.
Thank you.
Now I've got a little body, a little thorax sitting there. I don't need this extra. I'm gonna go ahead and snip that off of there. Now I'm going to pull it down over the top. And look at those. They just lay right there. You don't have to do anything to them. Look at that. I got the little bump there because this is a little tiny fly, right? Now you say, well, I'd like some legs on this fly. Well, now you still got this thing intact, right? Well, if you look at this and you get your bodkin out and you want to make some legs, if you split them, can you see that split? You split them. Now you can cut one side off. Still got hold of it. Pull them down because you're going to make your legs go down at the bottom there. Then you go ahead and put a couple of wraps there. And now you're going to see that your legs are sticking out there kind of where you want them. And you think, well, I can just get a couple of wraps there, a leg there, and a leg there. Now you can figure out just how long you want them, which you can do that in two phases. You can cut them off, be brave, cut them off really short right away. Go ahead, I've got my thread split a little bit there. Don't need much. Little legs. So there's your legs. And it's all with one feather. And lo and behold, the hackle handle lives for a nymph. I thought it was going to all be dry flies, but I was wrong. So I'm going to continue to find ways to shortcut or make controllable feathers that'll be, you can use them to tie all kinds of different flies, this method. And so Al was very helpful in finding new uses for it. But here's your little bug, and you can whip out these babies. I mean, they're so fast. And of course, I was doing this a little bit slower tonight so you could see how it's done. But with only one feather, you basically have an easy tie that you put this thing in the water. And if you're fishing, if you're nymphing, this little guy right here will really do a lot of fish catching, so to speak, right? Yeah. Let me change my camera here. Sort of. I don't know why I've got a hiccup in my handling here. Here we go. That's the problem with having a keyboard in the middle of your fly tying material. So do we have questions?
I'm the type of tire, Sherry, that I have to try that before I develop questions.
Yeah, I know it's
Really
just a little
simple,
bit
though.
different.
There's no questions involved, but gotta actually put it to use and see what develops. Looks very interesting.
Well, I'd like people to email me if you could, if you've got some ideas on using the hackle handle, because I think it would be interesting to see how many different ideas that everybody that takes these classes or any class, how many different ideas you can come up with. You know, it's really good stuff. So does anybody have any suggestions for the future of the classes? You can see on that list that I sent out. There's still some undecided, or what we call to be determined. So if we get some questions from people that would like to have something else presented in these classes, then let me know.
Will do. Will do.
Okay. So I could show you, I know everybody's just kind of hanging out, but I can show you a fly that I tied today. Of course, I'm a real fan of soft tackles. So this one is one that I tied today that ended up more what I call spidery. Let me change here, get to the other camera. Ooh, yeah, kind of cool, huh? And I don't even know, let me do a spotlight here. if you look at this fly, it has a Biot body. Let me pull these feathers back here.
Mm.
Got the Biot body. And then I put the little Zelon under there. But when I picked out the feather, I tied it so the feather comes out more instead of being like closed like this.
Mhm.
And then it ended up very spidery looking. So that's usually not the way they come out when I tie them. It's just a little bit different. Yeah. So this right here is one of my favorites, of course. And I've been working on different ways to do these soft hackles. And John Craft is a master at them, of course. And if we can take any one of these flies that I just tied. Here's one that I did the Biot earlier. And when we put this Zelon on here, the Zelon itself, as it comes off out of the package, is always just a little bit too big. So it has more fibers there than I want, because I want to underdress my flies instead of overdressing. So what I do is I take this Zelon, separate it out with my Biot. There we go. So now it's gotten all fuzzy and separated. So I pull it apart, and with this bodkin, this is one that I inherited off of some sort of an estate sale that I ended up with. And I really like this because I can find it on my bench. It gets dry, it drops off. So what I do is I take out enough so it has like two sides to it. So I'm going to use only half of it, but I'm also going to cut it off so there's more material there than I really need. So now I've really got a teeny bit about. So what I found out that I'll go ahead and put some, might as well use the right color thread. I'll put some olive on thread on here. I love playing around with different designs. I have a few that I did, but it's hard to invent something new. But anyway, I got my little piece of, now, right, if you tie this right down in the middle, I'm going to change glasses real quick. Now I've got this at both ends like I'm going to do a spinner. But instead, what I'm doing is I'm leaving it all long, but then I'm going to bunch them up together and tie them down. So what I've done is, usually you can put this Zelon on there and you slide it till it almost pulls out, and then you save some Zelon. Well, I kept pulling it out and I couldn't figure out why I couldn't get it as precise. So I just took the whole thing and made it half as much, and then I don't slide it through and I tie it down and don't just double it over. So it made my tie for this particular fly a little faster. So I'm gonna just cut this off. Now I'm gonna go to my handy dandy skin. This is the partridge skin that I have. And I find the smallest feather I can in the front. It's this little guy right here. So the fibers won't get too long on me. And pull this off. Basically get off all of this other fluff on there that we don't use. Then I want to see just about how much I'm going to use on this fly. So that looks like about right. This doesn't need a whole lot. But if, for instance, you've tied this down too far back, you can take more fibers off of here and your fly still comes out pretty good. So that's another, oh, I can fix this even though I've put this underwing in the wrong place. Gotten away with that a few times. So what I'm going to do now is just cut off a lot of this right here. I've got this little stub sitting there now. I'm going to now take the fibers and just trim it. There's not a lot there. Put it down on the hook. And I pull it back just a little bit so I can get a wrap on here before the rest of that fiber starts sticking out. In other words, so you have an empty wrap before you get the next wrap that has all of the feather on it. I'm gonna, my handy dandy Radio Shack clip again. You make sure that your feathers curved back. Pull on it. Fold it with your fingers right there. I used to fold these ahead of time. It turned out that I never did need to do that either. So you hang on to them and you let them slide through your fingers. What that does, it starts forming the feather towards the back. And when you pull up on it, you're going to have trapped fibers. There's where your handy dandy bodkin comes in, and you just flip them out. Do the same thing again. Hold on to them, pull down, let them slide through your fingers. Come around, and you're pretty well right there. There's plenty of room for a head. Of course, to me, it's nothing worse if you get down there and you've got everything up too tight against the hook eye. And that's the problem that happens when anytime you tie, sometimes you'll get too close and you have to start over. And you just cut this off. I got my just do a little whip finish here. You can use your whip finisher, like undo this way, or you can use the one I like to use is I have a whole set of these other whip finishers that I just like because they come in different sizes with a bigger hole on one side than the other. And they come in a package of 3. So this is for a bigger hook that you're getting over the hook eye, and it gets smaller and smaller until you can get, you have a tool that you can really push the fibers back, get them out of the way to make that whip finish. So you can do them one at a time like this. Or if you really get in a hurry, you can go around twice, no problem, and do a double right there. And then use your finger to slide that thread through. So it has lots of whip finishes on this particular fly now. Get rid of that. And that is going to be a fish catcher. I really like that particular fly. So that will pass muster with my husband because he's the pickiest fisherman that I know when it comes to these flies have to be exactly that. And he's made me a better tire because if I have what I call a failure fly, that failure fly Let me take that off of spotlight. I'm gonna change my cameras. If I can. Oh, there's Kathy. Hi, Kathy. So let me I don't know why my camera is really, I've got a camera issue where I'm not being able to get, there we go, my true vision back. There it is. So I'm still getting used to the handling of all this Zoom stuff, but I think in the future we're going to be in pretty good shape because a lot of the presenters that are going to do our classes this winter are all seasoned fly tyers, and a lot of them have been using Zoom and got very, very good at it. So I'm hoping that we'll have fewer what I call oops, where you can't get something to work right. And we had a lot of that when we did our expo, the virtual expo. We got through it and we did a lot of great sharing of information. So I'm very, very pleased with the attendance of what happened. So do you guys have anything else you'd like to share this evening? I can unmute all of you. There's quite a few of you on still.
Sherry, Doug Pendleton here.
Hi.
Can you hear me? Hi. I just wanted to thank you for doing these series. I learned so much every time they come up, even though I've been following up on last season with doing some fly tying. It's always fun and different and new to see your techniques, and I appreciate it.
Well, that's good. And I want to keep doing it because we're stuck at home. And so what I've decided to do is to keep going with this series, tie up more flies, and just get better at what we're doing and catch more fish. And because my husband is my super tester, I'll tie a fly that I've come up with and he'll fish it for several different times back and forth depending on the weather, and he'll give it back to me and say, no, I got nothing for you. But then sometimes I did some drakes earlier, the drakes I was tying for Al Beatty last week, and those drakes really do work well. And when I started tying those, he was a happy fisherman because those really, really work well. But that's why I recommend that you take your fly tying kit of some sort with you when you fly. If you're a tyer, when you fly fish, you're out there and then you see a bug that's saying, wait, oh man, my green drakes are great, but these green drakes are a lot smaller, or these are a lot bigger. You can go whip out something, go to your truck or in your car and whip out something that might work. And that's the reason why we started developing some other patterns, because we started camping. So you camp out wherever you're going to fish and you look at the water and you look at the fish and how they're rising and the time of day and all of those things that you really, really have to pay attention to. You'll be more successful, because that's what we had to do on our favorite river that nobody knows about. We hung out with people that really do know, and then we started experimenting right there on the river. This works, this doesn't work, and you knew when the hatch was coming off because, oh, here here it's 4:15. Yep, here it comes. You get to know your river and where you're fishing. We did that on East Lake. East Lake was, it's a lake. It's got, people, nymphing and having such a great time. And we like to dry fly. So I said, you know what? I'm going to come up with a dry fly that these fish are feeding on the top, and what are they doing? Well, lo and behold, I've got a dry fly now that it's an East Lake dry fly, and it really does work. But by being there, camping there, watching the water, watching the fish, taking the temperature of the water, it's really, really important whenever you're fishing. Be sure you do that. That temperature thing is a bigger deal than you think it is. So there's lots of hints that I have learned from everybody that I fished. And my husband is the best teacher I have, because he'll having someone that will test your flies when you create them. It's really good stuff, because it doesn't get any better. It's almost like news at 11. I can hand him something, he'll try it in the next 15 minutes. So you guys go ahead and take your little portable kit of some sort with you and try it. It's a lot of fun. So we'll see you next week. And I want to have a lot of fun this winter. And I do really appreciate this many people coming to this deal. And we've got some great tires coming up. Al and Gretchen Beatty are both doing back-to-back classes for us. And we're going to have a lot of fun. So Clint, it's nice seeing you again. And everybody, if you want any other handouts, if you got something you're looking for, I've got handouts from my handouts and charts from my charts. Send me an email, tell me what you're looking for, and I'll send it if I've got it. So you take
Sherry,
care.
Is
Yes.
this presentation going to be on your website?
I'm gonna I'll send out a notice, but it'll be on our YouTube channel.
Yeah,
I actually have one now. And I'm gonna put, once I finish this, I'll put this on the YouTube channel. And then if I don't think it's too ridiculous, it'll be available for you, and I'll send it out to everybody when I do the meeting notes for next week. So you'll have my YouTube channel. You can please subscribe to it, so then you'll get notices when I put something new up there. I think there's 7 videos from last winter up there now. So,
perfect. Thank you.
okay. Any other questions?
Thank you, Sherry.
Okay, we'll see you
Thank
guys
you.
next week.
Yep.
Good night, Jerry.
Bye, Kathy.
Bye.